Some things in Japan sound absolutely ridiculous until you see them in action, and then suddenly they make perfect sense. Like a single green powder that somehow ended up in ice cream, pasta, and even face wash. An alarm clock that doesn't make a sound, but slowly fills your room with light. And a full body washing pod that completely bathes you from head to toe without you lifting a single finger. Japan has this incredible ability to look at everyday problems and come up with solutions that seem wild at first, but end up being completely logical once you understand the reasoning. Today, we're counting down 12 crazy things in Japan that just make sense, because once you hear the logic behind them, you'll start wondering why the rest of the world hasn't caught on yet. Number 1. Matcha powder in everything. Most countries know matcha as a tea, a green drink served in ceramic bowls at Japanese ceremonies, or blended into a latte at a coffee shop trying to feel premium. That's where the understanding stops. Japan never stopped there. Matcha is made from green tea leaves dried and ground into an extremely fine powder. Unlike regular tea where you steep the leaves and throw them away, matcha means you consume the entire leaf. Every nutrient, every antioxidant, and every beneficial compound the plant produces goes directly into whatever you're eating or drinking, rather than being discarded. The result is an ingredient with a significantly higher concentration of antioxidants than standard green tea, and a natural energy lift without the crash that coffee produces. And because it's a powder, it dissolves into almost anything: ice cream, chocolate, bread, noodles, cocktails, face wash, and soap. Japan didn't limit matcha to a single category because the ingredient itself doesn't have one. The rest of the world found one thing to do with it. Japan found everything. Number 2. Sunrise simulation alarm clocks. Being woken by an alarm is one of the most universally unpleasant daily experiences there is. A sudden sound pulling you out of whatever sleep stage you happen to be in, leaving you disoriented, groggy, and immediately stressed before the day has technically started. Japan looked at that and decided it was an engineering problem worth solving. Sunrise simulation alarm clocks, widely sold and used across Japan, begin increasing light intensity in the room, up to 30 minutes before the set alarm time. The light starts at near darkness and gradually builds through amber tones to full daylight brightness, mimicking the natural progression of a sunrise and allowing the brain to move through progressively lighter sleep stages before waking. By the time the alarm sounds, most users are already in a light sleep phase and wake with significantly less disorientation than a standard alarm produces. Sleep researchers in Japan and internationally have confirmed measurable differences in morning cortisol levels and alertness between the two methods. Japan just decided to act on the research. Number 3. Mochi-wrapped ice cream. Ice cream has one fundamental problem that nobody ever fixed. The moment you take it outside, the clock starts. You're racing against the temperature, trying to finish, before it melts down your hand and ruins whatever you're wearing. Japan wrapped it in dough and solved it. Mochi ice cream is a portion of ice cream encased in a layer of mochi, a soft, chewy rice dough made from glutinous rice, pounded to a smooth, elastic consistency. The mochi layer acts as a natural insulator, slowing the transfer of heat to the ice cream inside and dramatically extending the window before melting begins. But beyond the engineering, the texture combination is what makes it genuinely different. The chew of the mochi against the cold creaminess of the ice cream produces a contrast that no other frozen dessert format replicates. It's sold at convenience stores, specialist dessert shops, and supermarkets across Japan in dozens of flavors. A problem that existed since ice cream was invented, solved by wrapping it in something that already existed for centuries. If you're enjoying this so far, go ahead and tap like. It tells YouTube you want more. And if you love discovering things you didn't even know existed, hit subscribe so you don't miss the rest of this list. Trust me, the next ones get even crazier. Number 4. Santa Luban 999. Automated bathing pod. A shower requires effort. You control the temperature, manage the pressure, scrub every surface yourself, and then dry off manually when you're done. It's so standard that nobody questions whether there's a better way. Japan questioned it. The Santa Luban 999 is a fully enclosed automated bathing pod developed in Japan where you sit inside, select your settings, and the machine does everything else. Water jets soak the body, foam is applied and distributed automatically, a scrubbing cycle follows, a rinse cycle clears everything away, and warm air dries you before the pod opens. The entire process takes around 15 minutes and requires no physical effort from the person inside whatsoever. It was originally developed for elderly and mobility-impaired individuals who could no longer manage independent bathing safely. But the technology it represents, a complete rethink of how personal hygiene is performed, goes far beyond its original application. Japan looked at one of the most basic daily human tasks and asked whether it could be fully automated. The answer was yes. Number 5. Japanese precision ink removing erasers. An eraser is the kind of product most countries stopped thinking about decades ago. It removes pencil marks. That's the expectation, that's the ceiling, and nobody pushed further. Japan pushed further. Japanese eraser manufacturers developed formulations using specialized polymer compounds that interact differently with various mark types on paper. Pencil erasers remove graphite without abrading the paper surface. Ink erasers use a harder compound that lifts dried ink through a different mechanical process entirely. Some versions remove colored pencil, marker bleed, and even printed text from certain paper stocks without tearing or leaving residue. Brands like Pentel, Mono, and Seed have spent decades refining the compound ratios, the density, and the surface texture of their erasers to a precision standard that professional illustrators, architects, and designers worldwide specifically seek out. The result is a product most people consider a throwaway item, treated in Japan as a precision instrument worth engineering properly. Once you've used a Japanese eraser on something you couldn't remove any other way, buying anything else feels like a deliberate step backwards. Number 6. Engawa indoor-outdoor transitional spaces. Most homes have a clear boundary between inside and outside. You're either in the house or you're in the garden. The transition happens at the door, and it's immediate. Japan built a third space between the two. The Engawa is a narrow wooden veranda running along the exterior of a traditional Japanese home, sitting between the interior living space and the outdoor garden. It's not quite inside and not quite outside. It's covered by the roof overhang so rain doesn't reach it. The floor sits slightly elevated from the ground, so it's not the garden. But the exterior walls can slide fully open, so there's no barrier between the Engawa and the rooms behind it. What this creates is a transitional zone that regulates light, temperature, and social interaction in a way no wall or window can. You can sit in the Engawa and watch rain without getting wet, feel the outdoor air without being exposed to it, or receive a guest without fully inviting them inside. Modern architecture removed this space and has spent decades trying to reintroduce it under different names. Number 7. Onigiri convenience store rice balls. A rice ball wrapped in seaweed sounds like the simplest possible food. Rice, seaweed, done. There's nothing there to innovate on. Japan innovated on it anyway. Convenience store onigiri in Japan come in dozens of filling varieties, from tuna mayo and grilled salmon to pickled plum, seasoned cod roe, and rotating seasonal specials that change with the time of year. Each one is individually priced, clearly labeled, and produced fresh daily by the store. But the real engineering is the packaging. Onigiri goes stale the moment nori touches rice because the moisture transfers and the seaweed softens. Japan solved this with a 3-layer packaging system where the nori is stored in a separate compartment from the rice, divided by a plastic film. You pull a tab, the film slides out, and the nori wraps around the rice at the moment of eating, perfectly crisp regardless of how long it sat on the shelf. That packaging took years to develop. For a rice ball, Japan does not cut corners. Number 8. Takoyaki home electric griddle pans. Takoyaki are small, round balls of savory batter cooked around a piece of octopus, brushed with sauce, and topped with bonito flakes and mayonnaise. They're one of the most popular street foods in Japan, associated almost entirely with Osaka and the loud, busy food stalls of summer festivals. In most countries, that's where it would stay. A street food you eat at a market. Japan put the griddle in the kitchen. Takoyaki griddle pans are sold as standard home appliances at electronic stores, home goods chains, and online retailers across Japan. The pan sits on a countertop, heats to the correct temperature, and produces restaurant-quality takoyaki at home using a specific hemispherical mold design that allows the batter balls to be rotated during cooking with a skewer to achieve the characteristic round shape. Families cook takoyaki together at the table the way Americans might use a fondue set. It's a social cooking appliance built around a single dish, and Japan considers that a completely normal thing to sell, own, and use regularly. Number 9. Wrinkle Release Clothing Spray. Ironing is one of those household tasks that everyone does slightly differently, takes longer than expected, requires a dedicated appliance and an ironing board, and produces results that last until the item is worn once and folded again. Japan looked at that entire process and reduced it to a spray bottle. Wrinkle release sprays produced by Japanese manufacturers including Lion and P&G Japan contain a compound that penetrates textile fibers and relaxes the bonds that hold wrinkles in place. You spray the garment, smooth it lightly with your hands, hang it for a few minutes, and the wrinkles fall out. Professional hotel versions used across Japan's hospitality industry produce results on dress shirts, trousers, and structured garments that are indistinguishable from ironing to the naked eye. It doesn't work on every fabric equally. Heavy linens and thick cotton still benefit from heat, but for the majority of daily work clothing, the spray eliminates the need for an iron entirely. Japan turned a 20-minute chore into a 90-second one. The ironing board industry has not forgiven them. Number 10. Kintsugi Gold Ceramic Repair. When something breaks in most countries, you either throw it away or hide the damage as best you can. A cracked bowl gets repaired with clear adhesive and displayed facing the wall. The goal is always to make the damage invisible. Japan built an entire philosophy around making it the most visible thing in the room. Kintsugi is a ceramic repair technique that fills cracks and rejoins broken pieces using lacquer mixed with powdered gold, silver, or platinum. The repaired lines don't disappear. They become the most prominent feature of the object, running across the surface in bright metallic seams that highlight exactly where the damage occurred. The philosophy behind it, rooted in the Japanese concept of wabi-sabi, treats breakage as part of an object's history rather than a flaw to be concealed. Something that has broken and been repaired has a story that an unbroken object doesn't. The result is that a repaired kintsugi piece is typically worth significantly more than the original. Japan turned damage into value. The rest of the world is still throwing things away. Number 11. Phase change. Cooling pillowcases. Sleeping hot is one of the most consistently complained about sleep problems worldwide. You flip the pillow to the cool side, it warms up within minutes, and you spend the rest of the night trying to find a position that doesn't feel like your face is against a radiator. Japan engineered a pillowcase that stays cool all night. Phase change cooling pillowcases produced by Japanese manufacturers contain micro-encapsulated phase change material woven into the sleeping surface. When your head makes contact, the material absorbs body heat by transitioning from solid to liquid at a precisely calibrated temperature threshold, maintaining a consistently cool surface without ever feeling wet or cold enough to be uncomfortable. Unlike gel inserts that simply feel cold for a few minutes before equalizing to body temperature, phase change material actively manages heat absorption throughout the night, releasing stored heat away from the sleeping surface continuously. No electricity, no refrigeration, no active component of any kind. Just a fabric that manages temperature passively through material science. Japan decided that a pillowcase should actually solve the problem it exists next to every single night. Number 12. Maneki Neko Lucky Cat Figurines. Walk past almost any restaurant, bar, or small business in Japan, and you will see a ceramic cat figurine sitting near the entrance with one paw raised. Most people outside Japan assume it's a generic good luck symbol, a decoration, something vaguely Asian placed near the door because it looks welcoming. They're missing half the message. The Maneki Neko, which translates directly to beckoning cat, communicates two completely different things depending on which paw it raises. A raised left paw is believed to attract customers and bring people through the door. A raised right paw attracts money and financial fortune. Some figures raise both, attempting to invite both simultaneously. The color of the cat carries meaning too. White for purity and good luck, black for warding off evil, gold specifically for wealth, red for protection against illness. Every single one of these details is intentional, consistent, and universally understood across Japan without explanation. A ceramic cat sitting in a window is conducting an entire silent conversation with everyone who walks past it. Japan just never felt the need to tell the rest of the world what it was saying. If you want to see more amazing things Japan is doing better than the rest of the world, then like and subscribe. And make sure to watch the video on your end screen. It's packed with even more crazy things.